Governor John Bel Edwards issued a mask mandate, closed the bars, and limited gatherings to 50 people more than a week ago now.
And now we're learning that the White House Coronavirus Task Force is urging Edwards to take even more restrictive action to tamp down the recent surge in new cases. One infectious disease doctor called the additional steps reasonable and necessary. Paul Murphy reports.
The White House Coronavirus Task Force recommends tighter restrictions on some Louisiana businesses. A memo sent to Governor John Bel Edwards comes as the number of new coronavirus cases and hospitalizations in Louisiana are spiking again.
We are clearly not moving in the directions that we were.
The task force wants gyms closed and gatherings limited to 10 people. Right now, the gathering limit is 50 people. It also urges restaurants to cut indoor seating from 50% to 25% to encourage more outdoor dining. LSU Health infectious diseases specialist Dr. Fred Lopez said, short of another stay-at-home order, stricter measures are needed to slow the rate of infection.
So those kind of interventions that decrease people being indoors and being closer to one another for prolonged periods of time will make an impact on transmission.
Drago's seafood restaurant owner Tommy Satanovich says efforts to tighten coronavirus restrictions will hurt his business.
At 25%, there isn't a restaurant in this city that can break even or make money.
Satanovich says he's going to do whatever public health officials tell him to do, whether he agrees with it or not. And he says most restaurant owners are already going above and beyond. For example, Drago's has been closed for the past 10 days after one bartender tested positive for COVID.
We closed our restaurant last week because we had 19 front of the house employees that were quarantined. Out of that 19, we had one positive test, but 19 total had to be quarantined because of that.
Governor Edwards said he would consider new White House guidelines, but is not ready to add new restrictions just yet. Paul Murphy, Eyewitness News.
Dr. Fred Lopez suggested we are nowhere close to being able to enter phase 3 of the reopening guidelines. He said in order to do that, Louisiana must see a sustained decrease in the number of new cases. And Lopez said that the state must also reduce the rate of positive COVID tests, which now stands at more than 15%.